If you were to pinpoint the exact moment when Toronto rap transcended from a regional sound to a global force, you'd be hard-pressed to choose just one year. But if we're being real, 2014 to 2018 was the period when the city's impact on rap became undeniable. Toronto, a city often overshadowed by New York, Atlanta, and LA, was suddenly a hotbed of innovation, cranking out some of the most influential artists, sounds, and trends in the genre. It wasn't just that Toronto rappers were making waves, they were shaping the future of rap itself. So what made Toronto's rap scene explode? It was a perfect storm of talent, culture, and strategic elevation by its most famous son, Drake. But it wasn't just Drake who made all of this happen. In fact, the years that followed were marked by a series of waves of artists, some of whom helped define the sound of rap at the time. The city went from a hidden gem to the epicenter of rap's global evolution. But like all meteoric rises, it wasn't without its cracks. So let's break it down. How Toronto took over, how it got huge, and ultimately, how it fell off. Before Toronto became synonymous with global rap dominance, the city's underground scene was booming, but largely underground still. Artists like Cardinal Official, Drake, and The Weeknd had already made a name for themselves, but the streets of Toronto were where the culture was still truly alive. The Six was a term whispered amongst the locals, recognized by a few but underrated by the larger rap world. While artists like Cardinal were making strides internationally, they were still operating within a niche in hip-hop. Drake's early career was pivotal in shifting the narrative. His mixtapes, particularly So Far Gone in 2009, showcased the Toronto sound, a mix of Toronto's cold, gritty street realities, emotional introspection, and blending rap with R&B, a style that was new and refreshing in comparison to the often more brash American counterparts. Drake was building his foundation, and when he dropped Take Care in 2011, it felt like Toronto's presence in global rap was unavoidable. But still, Toronto wasn't truly taking over until the city's next wave of talent began to break through. By 2014, Toronto had already established its footprint, but the next few years saw a massive takeover. Drake had reached the height of his career, and he wasn't alone. This period marked the rise of the next generation of Toronto rap, and it didn't just stop with him. In 2014, Drake was in full swing. His mixtape, If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, was released to overwhelming success, hitting #1 on the Billboard 200 and going platinum in just a matter of months. It was gritty, raw, and emotional, marking the rise of a new rap sound that blended trap beats, introspection, and R&B melodies. Toronto wasn't just being influenced by the global rap scene anymore, the city was defining it. At the same time, Drake's influence was seeping into the underground. Artists like Party Next Door, Tory Lanez, and The Weeknd were solidifying their own place within the mainstream. Party Next Door's mix of atmospheric, R&B-infused trap sound captured the essence of Toronto's late-night, melancholic vibe, racking up millions of streams and gaining a dedicated fan base, while The Weeknd had transitioned from his dark underground persona to pop stardom, but still managed to maintain the gritty, emotional core that made his sound so distinct. These artists, coupled with Drake's success, created an undeniable Toronto sound, and it wasn't just about the music. Toronto's unique vibe, its cold, gritty, urban streets filled with both hustle and heartbreak, was being felt globally. Artists weren't just getting hot in Toronto, they were getting hot in America and across the globe. By 2016-17, the phrase New Toronto was everywhere. Young rappers who were influenced by Drake and Party Next Door were stepping up to claim their spots. One of the most notable was Tory Lanez, whose 2016 album I Told You blended trap music, R&B, and Caribbean influences to create a unique sound. Tory was a product of the Toronto scene, a rapper who had the grime and vulnerability of the city paired with global crossover potential. Another artist who was making waves in 2016 was Nav, the Lil Uzi Vert of Toronto. Nav mixed trap beats, auto-tune, and a dark, atmospheric production style. His single Myself went viral, and soon he was collaborating with major figures in the industry, including Travis Scott and Lil Uzi Vert himself. Toronto's influence in hip-hop was undeniable by 2017. Artists like Lil Uzi Vert, Gunna, and Playboi Carti were drawing from the sound that Toronto had cultivated and taken mainstream. Drake's presence also helped elevate Toronto's rap ecosystem. His features, collaborations, and dominance on charts ensured that the world was paying attention to whatever Toronto was doing. The stats speak for themselves as well. By 2017, Drake's presence was so large that he had amassed over 100 million monthly listeners on platforms like Spotify. Views, his 2016 album, went platinum in the first week, making him the first artist to have an album debut at #1 on the Billboard 200 and top the charts for 10 consecutive weeks. The Weeknd, too, was dominating global charts. His 2016 album Starboy hit #1 on the Billboard 200 and garnered over 2 billion streams. These artists were not just driving Toronto's dominance in rap and hip-hop, they were showing the world that Toronto was setting trends. But Toronto's takeover wasn't just about stats, it was about a cultural shift. The way Toronto's sound became synonymous with modern rap and R&B. It became the template that other cities would follow. The vulnerability in Drake's bars, the melancholic trap melodies of Party Next Door, and the raw emotions from artists like Nav were all part of Toronto's cultural shift into global prominence. Despite its monumental rise, Toronto's rap scene saw a shift in energy by 2018. There were multiple reasons for this: oversaturation, the rise of other regional scenes, and the shifting trends in rap. While Drake continued to thrive, some of the younger artists started to see their momentum slow down. The explosion of drill music in the US and the emergence of southern trap sounds took away some of the attention that had been focused on Toronto's melodic, introspective rap. Toronto artists had also started facing a backlash of cultural appropriation and accusations that they were taking from other, often undeserved cultures. This criticism caused some of Toronto's own unique subgenres to lose steam, while others found themselves falling into the trap of similar sounding music that eventually became stale. By 2019, many of the torchbearers of Toronto's rap scene, including Tory Lanez and Party Next Door, found themselves navigating a landscape that had changed drastically. Whilst they still had devoted fan bases, their music didn't have the same mass appeal or cultural impact it once did. While Drake remained on top, the scene began to feel like it was in stagnation. Toronto's once clear dominance in the rap world seemed to be losing ground to a new wave of hip-hop that was defining its futures in cities like Atlanta, Los Angeles, and even Chicago. Despite the dip in momentum, Toronto's influence on rap between 2014 and 2018 is undeniable. The city was at the forefront of rap's most innovative period, from Drake's pioneering blend of rap and R&B to The Weeknd's crossover success and the rise of Toronto's underground artists. Toronto's sound reshaped global rap, and though its peak may have been brief, it left a lasting mark on the genre.